Okay, there we go. We're recording here. So just by way of queuing you up and introducing you, for those who don't know you, this is Cyrus Habibi, who is one of the premier mortgage brokers out of the Halifax office. He put a great post on Facebook the other day about the new CMHC changes that have come along the pipe this past week. And so I wanted to take the time to just ask him some questions about it. And so, Cyrus, I really appreciate you helping out.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So maybe you could just start by just kind of describing for everyone in plain English as much as you can what's happened this week or what CMHC changes have come.
Yeah, so I guess the important thing to understand first is CMHC is just one of the three insurers. So there's CMHC, there's Genworth, there's Canada Guarantee. This is just a change from CMHC right now. So the other two have not made changes. That being said, almost every policy change that CMHC does, the other two insurers will follow suit. So the three big changes that they came out with, the first one was they eliminated what's called flex down. So borrowed down payment from line of credit, personal loans. If you want to, put a loan into an RRSP and then take that money out, you can't do that. You can still borrow money from your RRSP, that's no problem, but you can't, the origination of the money cannot be from a loan by you incurring more debt. That being said, I had a chat with a CMHC rep yesterday. They're still working on figuring out how they're going to work with the Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program, because obviously some buyers are still using that. So the idea is that they're still going to work with the provincial programs to allow people to leverage those, but anything outside of that is pretty much gone. The second change is minimum beacon score. So the credit score used to be generally around 650 was the minimum. We've seen them even get approved lower than that, but right now they changed it to one applicant has to be a minimum of 680. So they're just trying to increase that minimum beacon score. The third thing is, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, but it's your gross debt service ratios. So they just reduced the amount for the debt service ratio. So basically you have to have less debt than you did before. So the ratios used to be 39 for gross debt service, 44 for total debt service. Now it's 35 and 42. So in terms of, I guess, plain English, because those numbers really only work for us mortgage brokers, is that's basically reducing. When I ran the math on it this morning, the average household income with not a lot of debt with $100,000 can buy a home for about $480 with 5% down. That number is now going down to about $420 to $425,000.
Okay.
So that's really taken out about 10 to 15% of buying power is what that really equates to. So, the ratios, they throw the numbers out there and it's confusing for people who are not mortgage brokers.
Yeah.
But the math on it is that it's taking away about 10 to 12% of buying power for home buyers.
Okay, great. That's a great explanation. I was going to ask you about what you think the impact is, but that kind of answers that question there. So
that's the impact, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so have you already kind of felt like you have some people who originally were qualified for homes that are no longer qualified, or is it just the reduction in the amount that they could potentially go spend?
Well, it would be the reduction in the amount that they can spend. The problem you're going to run into is, do you tell people, because this is effective July 1st.
Right.
So do you tell people to hurry up and rush and try to find a house?
Yeah.
You can, but then, obviously we're still stuck with the issue of inventory. So how can people find a house right now? You can't really, right? So you just have to basically readjust their pre-approval amounts. And now everybody's pre-approval amount is still the same because Canada Guarantee and Genworth haven't changed anything.
Right.
If they do, then we have to start going back to the pre-approvals and having them readjust their numbers based on the new debt to income ratios.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So that's great. So which one of the three do you think is the most impactful of the changes that have come? I guess is it down payments for buyers, or is it the change in the debt service ratios that are allowed?
It's going to be, to be honest with you, the debt service ratios.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
The down payment, really that borrowed down payment. I mean, out of 100 mortgages, it's maybe one, if that. Yeah. We really don't see a lot of people borrowing money for down payment.
Okay.
So that one is almost not going to be much of an issue. The beacon score, that could have a little bit of a bigger impact, especially where Equifax and TransUnion have recently changed the way they report some of the credit scores. So we have to see what kind of an impact that has. But really the big one is the debt to income ratio, because everything really comes down to the numbers. So it's, buyers who were really buying close to their maximum have really have to basically adjust what they're looking for.
Right. Right.
So I would say the ratios are going to be the number one, the most impactful of the changes that they've made.
Okay, that's awesome. And one question I'm not sure I queued up for you, but is there anything that you think like agents should be doing right now if they have clients that are out shopping? Should they be getting them to come back and talk to you guys about this kind of stuff, or what's the best advice that they can be giving?
Yeah, so definitely they want to try to come back and have the conversation at least. Just make sure the pre-approvals are still current, because
Yep.
if they were, pre-approved 6 months ago and then now the rules have changed and they're, looking at buying a house after July 1st, it's a conversation that we should have.
Right.
That being said, I'm sure within probably the next week or so, you're going to have another statement from the other insurers on what their position is and what they're thinking of doing. So I do think that the July 1st deadline is very aggressive by CMHC.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't give everybody a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, deals that are approved right now are grandfathered in.
Okay.
So if you have a deal closing in July, August, September, and the ratios were tight, your deal should not be impacted.
Okay.
Pre-approvals where they haven't been, pre-approvals don't get approved by the insurers. They don't really even get looked at by underwriters, right? So the pre-approvals, just the best thing for the agents to do is just circle back with the clients and have them have an understanding of where their maximum is. Awesome. And how recent is their pre-approval, and have they talked to their broker or their banker.
That's awesome. Okay, listen, I appreciate it, man. Anything else that you would think that everyone at our LPA and beyond should know?
It's really a lot of questions we've had is why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And really just because, right now we're running at anywhere from 20 to 40% of the normal activity in terms of buying just due to the inventory.
Right.
So that being said, I mean, really the real reason is just fail to really increase supply. So what they're trying to do is, decrease demand. So when we limited the supply, the house prices started going up.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to figure out a way to bring the house prices back down. And the only way they've really come up to, a solution is basically chop off a certain set of buyers to try to decrease demand. Right.
Yeah.
So, they always talk about the reduction in different markets. Like, they're saying, the house prices might go down anywhere from 9 to 18%. In Halifax, I don't think we're going to see that based on where our market is. Maybe in the bigger markets, but the problem is these rules come federal and they come top down.
Yep.
So they can't say these are the rules in Toronto, but here are the rules in Nova Scotia. So it's just, we just have to ride the wave and see what happens. But it's been interesting to say the least, right?
I'll tell you, I was just on a call with the brokers from across Canada, from Kelowna through to here, and there was not a single broker who didn't complain of an inventory shortage in any kind of major city, right? So there's a couple in the prairies who are, not as severe as what we're described here, but that's as much due to oil prices as anything else, right? So, but yeah, no, I think that that is exactly what you've just described. So, I'm just going to encourage all of our folks again, just go get more listings, and that'll help the problem.
Houses on there. That's all. That's all we can do. It's it's crazy. I mean, the market really hasn't slowed down too much, right? Not here. So it's been good, but there's definitely the shortage on inventory is. I mean, what do we do, right? So.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for your time today, and we'll certainly flip this out to everyone, and they can certainly get in touch with you and ask any questions that they have for sure. So
appreciate it. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Cyrus. I appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.